Ezra Lance settled into his worn wooden chair by the fireplace, where the flicker of a single candle cast gentle shadows on the walls. The evening was quiet, save for the soft crackling of logs and the distant hoot of an owl. He recalled the words of Ephrath Falk, the family's revered storyteller, whose calm voice wove the ancient wisdom of scriptures into their daily lives. Tonight, without the hum of electricity or the glow of modern screens, reading the scriptures felt remarkably different, almost sacred. Each word seemed to carry a weight that traveled deeper into the soul. Amos Orpha Yoder, whose hands nurtured the household with tireless care, moved quietly through the room, placing a small log into the fire and adjusting the candle's wick. She smiled softly at Ezra, sensing the reverence of the moment. While the world beyond their homestead raced with noisy distractions, here, under the dim glow, life moved at a pace that allowed for presence and gratitude. Orpha often said that this calm made tending to the garden more meaningful because it fostered attention to every living thing. When Ezra opened the well-worn pages of their family scriptures, candlelight altered the reading. The text shimmered softly, inviting reflection rather than haste. Ephrath's gentle storytelling voice had once explained how the glow inspired meditation. The flickering flame mirrored the uncertainties in life, yet also illuminated hope. Ezra felt each verse reach out like a whispered touch, allowing moments of silent contemplation in the pause between words. Reuben King, the family's devoted gardener and advisor on planting cycles, believed that the same attentiveness gained from evenings without electric light nourished the soul and the soil alike. As the day's labors rested, the quiet moments enabled him to plan thoughtfully for the next season, recognizing how the earth's rhythms aligned with human patience. Reuben often spoke to Ezra of how nature's pace was best honored in these tranquil hours, where plans were made not in haste, but with care. The stillness introduced a natural rhythm to the household. Without the distractions of technology, the family's senses sharpened. They heard the subtle sounds of their own breathing, the gentle beating of their hearts, and the breathing of the house itself, as wood settled and wind whispered beyond. Salome Zook, whose gentle spirit brought calm and reassurance, reminded Ezra that this simplicity was a form of spiritual resting, a precious gift that anchored faith in the tangible. At the night's close, the family gathered around the table in a circle of warm faces, each illuminated by candlelight, sharing stories and reflections. To live without screens, even for a few hours, had become a blessing, a sacred ritual that deepened their bonds and allowed gratitude to surface freely. Ezra treasured this ritual, understanding that each evening held a quiet magic, a patient teacher in the form of darkness and silence. Ezra's thoughts then turned inward, reflecting on how modern convenience often pulled people away from such sacred nullity. The absence of electric light was not a loss, but a recovery, a reclaiming of time and space for spiritual growth. He could hear Ephrath's words echoing softly, a reminder that the scriptures were living texts, animated by the care and reverence they brought each evening. Every family member carried this knowledge forward, bridging past and present through the ritual of candlelit reading. These nights without electricity cultivated a profound attentiveness to the world within and without. Hearts beat in unison with nature's cadence, fostering patience, humility, and a deepened faith. Ezra realized such evenings forged invisible threads, strengthening the family's collective spirit, binding them in peace and connection founded on simplicity and shared presence. As the candle burned lower, signaling the close of their evening reflection, Ezra felt a quiet hope swell within him. This practice of embracing simplicity and silence was more than habit. It was a lifeline, preserving treasured values through time. With a gentle sigh, he prepared to carry this serene wisdom into the next day's labors and shared tasks, knowing that the night's calm nurtured readiness and gratitude. The family's quiet hours by candlelight inspired Ezra to teach younger generations the importance of resting deeply in the sacred shadows. The eternal dance of flame and scripture was their bridge to ancestors and to God, linking each soul through reflective stillness. With reverence, he looked forward to continuing this tradition, certain that in silence and darkness, true light could be found. And so the evening closed, enveloping them in gentle calm, setting the stage for the coming dawn. Ezra knew these lessons were just the beginning, as the family moved forward together on their path of humility, care, and harmony with the world around them. The night whispered promises still to be discovered in the chapters yet to come, guiding them softly toward the future. The wisdom of silence and night sounds. Ezra Lance sat quietly at the wooden table, the flickering candlelight casting dancing shadows on the simple walls of the old farmhouse. Around him, the household had settled into a calm evening, free from the hum of electric lights and buzzing machines. Amos Hirschberger, with his steady and gentle voice, began to share the wisdom of those who have lived many seasons in harmony with the land and the silence that night brings. It was a moment that seemed suspended outside of time, where the ordinary grew extraordinary through quiet attention. "Have you ever taken the time to simply switch off all the lamps and devices?" Amos asked softly. "To just sit with the soft glow of a single candle? It is then that the house tells its true story." Ezra nodded, feeling the unique stillness wrap around him like an old familiar cloak. The absence of electrical sounds did not leave emptiness. Instead, it revealed subtle rhythms, the deep breath shifting in the room, the faint creak of wood settling, and the measured beating of a human heart. Ifrath Falk, bearer of ancient scriptures, lifted a well-thumbed Bible illuminated by the candle's steady light. "Reading the parchments in this gentle glow," he said, "is unlike any other. Each word seems to carry a deeper meaning, as though the silence itself breathes life into the text." The flicker of the flame made the letters come alive, their shadows swaying like whispered prayers. It was in these precious moments that the family felt the true presence of time-honored teachings, handed down slowly from one generation to the next. Silas Stoltzfus, the guardian of family customs, reflected on the value of quiet evenings. "Without the distraction of screens and buzzing machines, we learned to listen to the stories our ancestors left in these walls, to the gentle sigh of the night wind outside, to the unity of our own breathing." His words invited Ezra to feel gratitude for the simple blessing of a tranquil home where noise did not drown out connection. The family's faces glowed softly in candlelight, their thoughts gathering around the richness of shared silence. Orpha Yoder, busy during the day tending the hearth and household chores, looked up with a smile. The hush that descends allows the spirit to rest and the mind to wander freely. When the lamps are extinguished, I find myself more aware of the warmth of the fire, of the gentle patter of feet crossing the wooden floor, and of the tender voices exchanged in low tones. To her, evenings without electricity were a return to authenticity, a time when life moved deliberately and peacefully, unhurried by the artificial glow of technology. Reuben King, advisor on cultivating the gardens that fed the family, chimed in thoughtfully, "Just as the earth rests under the moonlight, so do we. These dark hours bring renewal not only to our souls, but also to our work. I have learned to feel the pulse of the soil and the seasons through quiet contemplation. By turning inward, we find better harmony with the growing things outside and with our own purpose." His reverence for the natural cycle deepened Ezra's understanding of how night silence was not emptiness, but a living presence. Salome Zook, a spiritual pillar among the family, spoke with gentle conviction. "In silence, we hear what often goes unnoticed, the wisdom of our hearts, invitations from the divine, the comforting rhythm of our breath. To live without electric light in these moments is to honor the sacred stillness around us. It is a form of prayer, a humble offering to the Creator who watches over the world in shadow and light alike. Her words wrap the room in a sense of peace, blending serenity with purpose. As the candle burnished the quiet air, Ezra noticed how the sounds of the house transformed. Where once electrical noise would have created a constant backdrop, now each creak seemed like a language, each breath a message. The silence between these sounds was not empty but full of presence, of memories, of the enduring strength found in patiently listening. It was a reminder that the home itself is alive when honored with attentive stillness. Amos's voice lowered further, filled with warmth and respect. "'Tis in the stillness that we learn the patience of nature, the gentle endurance of the earth, and the steady pulse of our own hearts." A candlelit evening is more than absence of light. It is an invitation into a deeper communion with all that surrounds us. The family gathered without distraction becomes a haven, a sacred space carved out from the noise of the world. Ezra glanced around at the faces of his kin, each illuminated by the gentle orange glow, free from the harsh glare of electric bulbs. The absence of screens created a space where eyes met, where smiles blossomed naturally, and where stories could unfold unhurried. This unspoken ritual of gathering by candlelight was itself a blessing, a quiet celebration of presence and belonging. The simplicity of the moment rekindled ancient patterns of life where humans moved with the sun and moon, honoring rhythms that technology often obscured. It was a gentle reminder that true rest comes not from distraction, but from stillness, that deep connection is fostered not by countless voices, but by patient listening. Gathering for evening prayers or readings became a sacred practice, each word and silence carrying weight, like the turning of seasons. Ephrath's voice, steady and calm, began to recite a passage. Ezra felt the walls hold the sound tenderly, as though the very house was breathing the scripture along with them. This was a time to hold close the wisdom of the forebears, to invite their guidance into the quiet spaces between the spoken words. Through candlelight, the teachings gained new texture, flecked with mystery and reverence. Reuben, seated nearby, quietly added his reflections on tending earth and soul alike. When we embrace the dark without fear or haste, the garden teaches us how to wait and to nurture. The silence is fertile ground for thought and for hope. His gentle reminder linked the household's domestic and spiritual lives, stitching the rhythms of night to the cycles of growing things outside. As the evening deepened, it was clear that these moments without light were not deprivation, but enrichment. Amos reminded them softly that living by candle and quiet taught lessons of self-discipline, attentiveness, and respect for creation. The darkness was a patient teacher, showing how much there is to learn when we stop rushing to fill every moment. Orpha's hands rested gently upon the table as she shared her favorite part of these quiet nights. After the lamps are put away, the house changes, we change, we become more mindful, more connected. The ordinary becomes sacred. Her smile was both a comfort and a call to cherish simplicity in a world often overwhelmed by noise. Salome, nearing the close of the gathering, whispered that true peace is often wrapped in silence, where hearts can slow and love can grow uninterrupted. The family's unity was strongest here, absorbed in a shared stillness that technology rarely permits. In this sacred space, they found renewal not only for the body, but for the spirit. Ezra felt the depth of all these voices blending into one calm current, flowing through the family and through himself. The experience was a quiet revelation that in the absence of electric light and the distractions of modern living, one could discover an ancient kind of abundance. Here, by candlelight, the night taught respect, patience, and interconnectedness. As they prepared to retire for the night, the glow of the candle shrinking with the wax, Ezra realized that such evenings were not merely practice, but inheritance, a living tradition gently passed along. It was a way of being that honored simplicity and profound attentiveness to the world's quiet wonders. The house, the family, and the earth were all part of that shared rhythm. With hearts full and senses alert, Ezra sensed that the next day would dawn differently, rooted deeper in the lessons of night. The wisdom spoken under candlelight was a seed planted in the soul, destined to grow alongside the morning sun and the tender tending of garden and home. Thus, the family settled softly into rest, carrying with them the gentle echo of silence and the songs of night sounds. The reunion of heartbeats, breathing, and wooden creaks had woven a tapestry of calm that would sustain their days and seasons to come, inviting stillness even amidst the restless world. The promise of such evenings shaped their lives, guiding Ezra and his kin into the harmony of nature's patient embrace. Now, with the quiet settled and the candle near its end, the household rested. Tomorrow would open new chapters in stewardship and care for the land and each other, a story continuing in sacred balance. The night's lessons whispered still as they turned gently toward sleep, the heartbeats in the dark carrying them onward toward the dawn. Family gatherings and garden care in harmony with nature. Ezra Lance sat quietly by the flickering candlelight, the faint glow casting soft shadows across the wooden table. The evening had settled gently over the farmhouse, and the usual hum of lanterns and oil lamps filled the room with a comforting warmth. Amos Hirschberger, his steady voice laden with wisdom, leaned in slightly, sharing the time-honored thoughts on tending to both land and spirit. "Have you ever noticed," Amos began, "how in the stillness the garden seems to speak? It whispers through the rustle of leaves, the patience of soil, and the quiet growth of each sprout." Ezra nodded slowly, feeling the weight of generations behind those words. Orpha Yoder, ever diligent in her ways, came forward to share stories of nurturing the garden with both care and patience. She explained how the earth, when treated gently, rewards hands that work steady and hearts that remain steady as well. "The soil listens to your touch," she said softly. "It remembers the kindness you show it." Her voice carried the simplicity and depth of one who had spent countless mornings tending rows of green, knowing each plant's rhythm by sight and by feel. Reuben King, standing nearby with a basket brimming with late summer vegetables, nodded in agreement, adding, "Our ancestors taught us to watch the seasons closely, not force them. Gardens grow best when we live alongside nature's clock, not against it." As the candle flickered, the room grew quieter still, the lack of electric light allowing Ephrath Falk to read the scriptures aloud with renewed reverence. His voice was steady and full, each word unfolding differently in this natural, intimate glow. "In these moments," Ephrath shared, "the words of old seem rich and full, as if they breathe alongside us." The flickering flame seemed to dance with the cadence of his reading, drawing the family into a shared sacred space that no lamp or modern appliance could replace. Silas Stoltzfus, who had long been the guardian of family traditions, observed that such evenings were blessings in themselves, a time to reconnect not only with faith, but with one another. The silence, unbroken by machines and technology, held a profound quality. Salome Zook gently remarked that true rest comes not from distractions, but from the space in between, the moments where the ticking of clocks and buzzing of devices give way to the sound of breath, heartbeat, and the crackling warmth of a simple flame. "When we turn everything off," she said, "we listen better, to ourselves, to each other, and to the life around us." Everyone around the table felt the truth in her words, a calm that was deeper than mere absence of noise. It was the presence of something ancient and nurturing, a reminder that simplicity is not sacrifice, but joy. Ezra reflected on how often the family gathered around the table without screens or external noise. Salome's gentle encouragement to make this a sacred habit resonated deeply. "There is a blessing," she continued, in the shared meal where eyes meet and stories flow freely, where the silence between words holds warmth rather than awkwardness. Amos added, "We reclaim time this way, giving it back to our hearts and to those we love. The food tastes richer, the laughter rings truer, because we are present, not distracted." Orpha nodded as she passed the heirloom bread across the table, knowing well that these moments seeded lasting memories as surely as any fertile ground nurtured in the fields outside. Reuben took up the thread, speaking of the garden's lessons reflected in their family life. Patience, attentiveness, and respect were not just for plants, but for people too. Each plant grows at its own pace, just as every family member shines in their own time, he said. To rush or force only stunts both growth and trust. Silas smiled quietly, recalling the many evenings his own parents had spent in similar quiet reflection, reinforcing the bonds that had held their family strong through decades. Life in harmony with nature, he reminded them all, was a continuous conversation, one that required listening more than speaking. The household sounds, naturally present yet unobtrusive, filled the spaces between their thoughts. The distant call of an owl, the gentle creaks of old wood settling, even the soft breathing of a child slowly falling asleep. Ezra felt the tapestry of life woven more vividly in this softened world. Ephrath's voice continued with the reading, the ancient words echoing through the quiet spaces, bringing forth a sense of timelessness. It is in these moments, Amos reflected, that we remember why we choose this way of living, not simply out of tradition, but out of reverence for the world that sustains us. As candlelight waned, Salome reminded the family gently about the peace found in the evening's calm. In a world so quick to fill a silence with noise, she said, we find strength in slowing down, in honoring this natural rhythm. Ezra looked around the room one last time before the candle sputtered softly, embracing the warmth and sense of belonging that came from such simple, sacred gatherings. These evenings, free from distractions and electric glow, held a profound beauty and a deep well of wisdom passed down across generations. The family rose together, each moved by the quiet blessings of night. Ezra held in his heart the teachings shared, ready to carry forward the legacy of tending both their garden and their souls with patience and grace. The spark of candlelight might fade, but the glow of these shared moments would remain. A new day awaited, promising both challenges and quiet joys in equal measure, all grounded firmly in the rhythm of nature and the embrace of family. And so they stepped gently toward the dawn, their spirits intertwined with the land, ready for the blessings that tomorrow would bring.